Welcome, everyone, and welcome to From Mess to Message, a journey to purpose. I'm Keba Cairo, author and founder of Don't Snooze on Clues. I am here today with the amazing Winfield Sargeant, the creator of Mess to Message. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Keba.
Great. That's great to hear. So we're here today on From a Mess to a Message.
Yes.
What is that?
Whew. Where do I start? Quite a few years ago, while I was on, I would say, my journey to purpose, I started to actually start facing the things in my life that was messy. And in order for me to actually know that it was messy, I had to take some time to actually face it, to go dead on and go into it. And once I did that, I realized that that mess has the ability to become a message. So that's where the From Mess to Message came about. That's where the title
of Mess to Message
From
came
Mess
about.
to Message, a journey to purpose. Because 8 years ago when I moved back to New York, I wasn't sure. Well, my intent was to come home and die. But God had a different plan for me. And he used my mess, turned it into a message, and now I'm constantly on my journey to purpose.
Wow. Well, okay, you just tapped into something right there. You said you came to New York to die.
Yes.
Now, give us a little bit of background so we understand and the viewers understand exactly what you mean by that.
Well, about 8 years ago, I was living in Springfield, Virginia. Everybody would think I had it made. I was living in a townhouse, rent-free, on a multi-million-dollar strip. And all I had to do was get my life together. All I had to do was get myself whole again. And while doing that, I realized that I was dying. Let's put it that way. I realized that I was dying. I would say on paper, I was diagnosed with HIV in 89.
Okay.
And no, I'm sorry, not 89. In 99, I was diagnosed with HIV. And people ask me, okay, so how did you deal with that? How did you deal with being diagnosed with HIV? I said, actually, I didn't deal with it bad because I was already prepared for it. What happened is my diagnosis, it wasn't like, how did this happen? When I became positive, I was like, oh, finally.
Oh, wow.
Finally. Because I knew that eventually that was going to be my diagnosis by the choices that I made. So I was HIV positive. I was dealing with depression. I was being, I had a charge against me for drug possession. And for the first time in my life, I actually could say, I didn't do it. I wasn't guilty. So I was physically, emotionally, spiritually dying. I knew I was dying. And the one place that I knew that I needed to come to, well, there was two places that I needed to go to die. It was either back home in the Virgin Islands or back home to New York, because I was born in St. Thomas. So I couldn't get home to the Virgin Islands. So the next place was to come home. So I packed up a suitcase. I just left everything. I took a bus to 34th Street and contemplating on the bus whether or not I was going to call someone and say, well, hey, can I stay with you? In that contemplation, it was put on my spirit that said, no, do this. Don't call anyone. Don't tell anyone nothing. This now is your time to do it for you. And so I got off the bus and I went to HRA and I walked up in there and it felt like I was doing an infomercial. So I walked in, I said, look, I'm HIV positive and I'm homeless. And that's where it started. That's where that journey started for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So you took that mess, what you call a mess, and now you're turning it into a message. What is that message?
The message is that no matter how far you felt that you have fallen, you can always get back up. You can always reinvent yourself. You can always re-empower yourself. But you first have to recognize that you're not in a good place. You first have to recognize that you need help. You first have to recognize that you can't do it by yourself. That you still need someone. Because I thought that if I stayed quiet, because growing up, you know, you're told, and coming from the Caribbean, you're told to don't be telling nobody your business. You know, just the way they say it. You know how they say, don't be telling nobody your business. Don't be going out there and putting your business out there.
Yeah.
And that's what I went on. So most of my life, I was secretly dying. I was secretly going through things because I didn't want nobody to know my business.
Right.
But I realized being vocal about my business, being vocal about my mess, helped me to start upon that journey to turn it into a message. It started me upon that journey to become an example, that a walking example, because we have tons of people now that's just talking. They're talking. And sometimes they're talking and you're like, oh, I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear anymore because your talking isn't helping me.
Right.
Half of the time the talking is harming you.
Right.
Way more than it's helping you. So that's just it for me. I wanted to make this be more transparent. Because growing up, I always had to put on. I had to put on a certain outfit to get a certain look. I had to put on a certain act to get a certain response. I had to put on. But while I was putting on, I wasn't taking off anything. I was putting on all this stuff, and the stuff was just weighing me down. Right. And the stuff was just killing me. And so I had to take off so that I can put on the new me.
Nice.
Put on the person that I was created to be.
Right. And who is that person that you were created to be? Like, who is this man, Win by Winfield? Who is he today?
He is individual. He is unique. He is love. He is, I hope, a breath of fresh air. He is God. You know, because I tell everyone, one of the things that every morning that I wake up, I ask for less of me and more of him. It's a constant prayer. And when I say less of me and more of him, I mean more love, more patience, right, more understanding, more compassion, more openness, more honesty, more.
Right. Yeah. And how do you plan on taking this man, Win by Winfield, and impacting the community? What do you plan on doing with this from mess to message? How is it going to impact? What are your plans for this medium to do for the community?
Well, when I was given this, platform, one of the first things that was said to me is to always remember this has nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with you. And once you understand that and you let that be your driving force, right, you can get the sky's the limit. I want to use this platform to show ordinary people who are dealt extraordinary circumstances, and they turn it into something super extraordinary. I want to use this platform to to show that it still takes a village.
Absolutely.
And that we are the community. We are the church. We are the change that we seek. I want to take this platform and continue what our wonderful and illustrious President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, what they instilled in the 8 years that they were in office. I want to use what I learned from Martin Luther King, from Harriet Tubman, from Malcolm X, from Betty Shabazz, from all these countless people who paved the way for us so that we can have a voice, so that we can use our voice to not just better our community, just the people that we see every day, but beyond.
That's beautiful. So what would you like to tell someone who is actually in their mess? Because a lot of times while we're in our mess, it's hard to see past it. It's hard to see any kind of rainbow at the end of that tunnel. So what would you like to tell somebody who's currently in their mess?
Mess is like a rainstorm. Eventually, the storm's gonna stop. Eventually, the storm's gonna stop. But while you're going through the storm, while you're in the midst of your mess, find hope. Find hope. Find that thing that makes you smile. Because sometimes when you're in a mess, you don't want to look for anything else, because all you're doing is concentrating on where you're at the moment. Step out of your own way. And sometimes you have to step back and just it's like you're hovering and you're looking. And you have to look at this and say, you know what? This is not forever. This is not my final destination. My diagnosis, my disorder, my label is not my destination. You have to be patient with yourself.
Right.
You have to take it easy. Be easy on yourself. You know, just be easy on yourself.
Yes.
And know that it's going to get better. But you have to believe it's going to get better, because it cannot get better if you keep wallowing in your worst. Because sometimes that ain't the worst. When we think we're in that place, when we think it's the worst, it's not. Mm-hmm. Because when you sit down and be like, oh, woe me, you sit there, and then if you just take a step back and look, you're like, wait a minute, I've come through greater obstacles than this.
Sure.
I've come through greater obstacles than this. I can do this. But you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep showing up. Not showing up for your aunt, not showing up for your uncle, not showing up for your best friend, not showing up for boo-boo. Show up for yourself.
Right.
Because if you can't show up for you, how do you expect anyone to show up for you?
Right.
Show up for yourself.
So getting a diagnosis, like what you had, HIV positive, what do you do with that? How do you find hope? Because you just mentioned finding hope, finding inspiration, finding something to hold on to. What did you do?
Well, it's funny because I laugh now and I look back at it, because I was being prepared for HIV. In my 20s, when I initially moved from St. Thomas, I moved from St. Thomas in 1989. Actually, no, not St. Thomas. I was living in St. Croix when Hurricane Hugo hit the Virgin Islands. Okay. At that time, I was ward of the state. I had just finished, I was in juvenile detention, and I had the choice to go back and live with my mother, and I was just being me. I was like, no, I don't want to live with her. And so they had an annex. And so I was in that detention center. Prior to Hurricane Hugo hitting, there was a huge fire. And the room that the fire was in was my room. But that night, I had agreed, because there was only 4 of us in the facility. I had agreed to go in a room by myself. And so 3 of the guys that were there was in this room. I remember it was around midnight, and there was a huge explosion. And the fire just came from that room. I remember running and just knocking down the doors. And I saw 2 of the guys came out, and I pulled a 3rd. And 2 of them died. 1 of them lived. And after that fire, they put me in a hotel on the beach. I was eating in the best restaurants. I was given everything. And I thought that I had it made. But I didn't realize what they were doing was pacifying me so that I could be quiet. So me, the boisterous young man that I was, and I was just aging out, I kept talking, and they didn't want me to talk, so they gave me more. And then when the Hurricane Hugo hit, they shipped me out on that first Red Cross plane to Florida. When I went to Florida, I needed to find a job. I was staying in a church shelter at first, and then I connected with an old friend from home. She lived around the corner from a nursing home, and this nursing home had a hospice, and they couldn't find anyone to work in this hospice. I didn't understand why. So they said, well, we can give you a job. We will train you to become a certified nurse's assistant. I'm in my 20s. I was just actually becoming aging out from 18. Right. And here I am getting this job, and it was an AIDS hospice. It was an AIDS hospice, and that's why they needed people so bad. I remember going in there, and at that time, there was still Kaposi sarcoma, which is cancer of the skin, where no fabric can touch the patient because then their skin came off with it, and it was like 3rd-degree burns. And I worked at this hospice, and I threw myself in working there because I saw everybody covered from head to toe. I wouldn't do that because I saw these people and they needed love too. They needed to be touched. They needed somebody. And I worked there for a while, and I would rock people in my arms as they died. I would, and that prepared me. I didn't realize that I was being prepared for all the things that was to come. Right. That prepared me. Being exposed to the true what HIV was and what AIDS was. So I said in my head, this thing ain't gonna kill me. This is not going to kill me. But I said that, but my actions
didn't reflect it.
I set myself up more and more to die. I did.
Do you believe that it's because you were exposed? Like, what made you, because you mentioned that you were only in your 20s when you went to that hospice, you were just fresh into the Florida. Now, and here you are today, HIV positive, dealing with it, everything that comes with it. Mm-hmm. Now, do you believe in that full circle? Like, what do you feel about that? Because you were exposed to it even before.
Yes, I believe in that. I believe nothing is happenstance. And I know that now for a fact because of where I am and where my journey has taken me. Nothing, I repeat, nothing you go through in life is happenstance. So yes, that prepared me. That and so many other things prepared me to where I am. While I was crying and why am I going through all this? I didn't realize that the plan was being set for me. My message was being put together.
Molded.
Yes.
So what would you tell your younger self? Because here you are today, stronger, wiser, so much has happened. What would you tell your younger self who's scared, who didn't know where to go? What would you tell that younger Winfield who didn't realize how big his purpose was? What would you want to tell him today?
Stop listening to people. You are not what people tell you you are. If you, right now, I say to people, when people say, oh, somebody said I'm this, I'm that, did they create you? Do they know every hair that's on your head? Did they have a plan for you before you even existed? Don't listen to people. Don't take on every label because you feel that that's where you belong. Don't place yourself in boxes. Don't stop placing yourself in boxes. Stop putting yourself in places where a table wasn't set for you. And be gentle with yourself. Debbie, who's such a great part of my village, I remember she told me, be gentle with yourself. Because we're so hard on ourselves. We're easy on everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
But we're so hard on ourselves. Be gentle with your young self. Because it's going to be a tough. Be gentle with yourself.
Nice. So we have From Mess to Message. This is the platform that you have now. Is there anything else that you're doing in the community that you would like to share with the viewers?
Lord. Okay, here we go. We're going to start. Well, about 7 years ago, I had this vision to make sure every child had a toy. No matter how small it was, I wanted to make sure every child had a toy. For Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So I started my toy drive, in which we are going into our 8th year. We started with about 35 families. And I think this last one, we were probably up to 100 or 150 families.
It's growing.
Yes. And also every year, because Christmas is my most favorite time of the year. I'm like
Mine
this
too.
big kid. I love the carols. I love everything about Christmas.
Right.
And so I remember in the Virgin Islands, they used to have the quadrille band with the banjo and the chuku that kind of thing. And we go, good morning, I come from a guava berry, good morning. And we would just go through the square, we would go to the houses, and I just loved it.
Right.
So I said, well, this is New York.
I think I'll call the cops.
I don't want nobody to put me in jail. So what I said is, you know what? I prayed about it and I said, my other love besides the kids is our elderly. Right. And so I started caroling at the then the Marcus Garvey Nursing Home in Crown Heights. And now they've named it the Crown Heights Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Mm-hmm. Yes, bless their heart. But I go there every Christmas Eve. And when I went there, they said, oh, do you want to, because we have churches that come and they're in the common area and they carol. I said, no. What about the people who are up in the bed?
Right.
Who has Alzheimer's? What about those people who can't move out of their bed?
Right.
So they're deprived. Mm-hmm. So I said, no, I want to go up on the floors every Christmas Eve and I just want to sing. And so I do that. Every Christmas Eve, I work with shelters. I work with soup kitchens. I bring services in every Saturday. We feed the community at a community dinner at the St. Philip's Christian Church in Best-Eye, where I serve as a leader and a children's teacher. Okay. Also, I partner with organizations in the community who need fresh and new ideas. So I come in and I do consultation work and I show them where they can probably touch the community better. Right. Because if you notice, we have a church on every corner.
Yes, sir.
It's a corner, middle of the back corner.
Yes, you do.
And for the longest time, it just puzzled me. It puzzled me that we have churches right here, but they're serving the minimum of the community. They're doing just the minimum. So I decided that I wanted to go out and share the gift that was given to me and help them in any way that I could. And so through those initiatives, as well as speaking engagements, I do workshops on HIV, I do workshops on depression, abandonment, the fatherless child, dealing with sexual identity, or just figuring out, who am I? Am I what people say? Or am I what my creator say I am? So those are a few of the things that I do, and this is a new platform for me, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because this is amazing. I see a common thread in everything that you do.
Wait a minute, we didn't talk about the bullying workshops that we do together. I was working with you in the bullying, and I also teach yoga.
Yeah.
So
can't forget that yoga.
Can't forget the yoga. Yes.
No, he's really doing amazing things in the community, and I noticed that there's a common thread in everything that you do. It's everything that happened to you in the past coming straight back into your future. So why don't you talk to the people a little bit about that journey to purpose? Because the show is named From Mess to Message, a journey to purpose. So tell them a little bit about the purpose and the journey that they're going on to get to that purpose.
Well, my purpose, my personal purpose, is to be a vessel, to be a connector, to be someone that people can actually look up to. And on that journey, there will be bumps, there will be potholes, but I want to let our viewers know that no matter what, don't give up, don't give in, and always know that your best is yet to come.
Nice, nice. So why don't you tell the people how to find you?
Oh, well, I am on every social media. You can find me, Win Sargeant. That's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, our website. Look for our website, from mess2message.com. Keep your eyes open for that. You can also email us, and we'll put the information on the show if you'd like to come on to the show, if you have a show idea. Yeah, that's about it.
So that's amazing. This platform here is a vessel for the community to come in and talk about their purpose, talk about their mess. And we're really excited that you have this platform now, because you are a true embodiment of what it is to have a mess and then make a purpose out of it. But what do you want to tell the people about, just about that journey? Because some people think that the mess is a one-time occurrence that they should be talking about. But why don't you just tell us really briefly before we head out, just about that mess, that how your journey has been a journey. It's been a span over a long time. So why don't you just tell us really quickly about that, about just that journey, and telling them about it's not just a one-time occurrence.
Well, what I want to say real quick is to not wallow in your mess. And I've said it before. Don't let your mess be your final destination. Let it be the thing that plateaus you to your next level.
Absolutely. Yes. That was amazing. So we just want to thank Win by Winfield, the creator of From Mess to Message, a journey to your purpose. So we just want to thank him today for just even being here and having this forum with me. And until next time, lead with love.